going to go to the consumer tech segment. And today on the consumer tech segment, we're going to be discussing cutting educational costs using technology. All right. Edward Opoku, the head of new media here at Citi TV and Citi FM, is going to help us to get into that conversation. Eddie, good morning.
Good.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good.
Fantastic. Now, back in the day, talking about, let me say 2010, thereabouts, I embarked on studying everything I could possibly find, on photography. And yeah, I was shocked at what you can learn, that's out there, that I didn't have to pay a dime for.
Yeah.
And when I say I didn't have to pay a dime, of course I was paying internet fees and all that. But really, I mean, comparatively,
That's a token.
yeah, really. That's where my mind goes to when I think about this topic. But take us into the discussion.
All right, so cutting down on the cost of education. Education is not cheap, okay? But, I mean, compared to the benefits, there's a lot of motivation. So our parents push themselves to make sure that we get the very, very best, or our children get the very, very best, But then it gets to a time that you have to take on some of these things, Yes, and I have done a little bit of education myself, or educating people, And one of the things I used to do a lot is to talk about or inspire the students to be able to learn stuff for themselves.
Okay.
Because I have several examples of so many other people. A lot of what I do today, I didn't study them
in a classroom.
In a classroom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even today, every day, there are new things I'm learning. Okay. When I open my laptop, when I take my mobile phone, it's the opportunity for me, and I don't take it lightly. And I encourage a lot of people, even as a head of a department, all the people that I work with, constantly encouraging them to learn new stuff.
All right.
Not just what you picked up in school.
Yeah. All right. Eddie, we'll come back to continue with you. Let's take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right. So we're having this conversation with Edward Opoku here about cutting educational costs using technology. Eddie, let's go further into
Great. So, yes. So when it comes to education, a lot is dependent on the student or the pupil, as the case may be. But then, if you are a parent or a guardian, also you have a lot to do. Okay. So let me take, as a guardian, what you have to do first. Okay. So then the first thing is that you have to bring up your children, encouraging them that a lot depends on them. Sometimes it's very, very difficult, because when you talk to children, sometimes as if they don't understand, they don't appreciate what. But as you do that consistently, it comes to a time they get to appreciate it, and you have to keep it on. Then you have to set up the environment for them to also, I call it social engineering. Okay. And I think that in our society we need a lot of that. You set up the home environment such that it encourages them to learn, not just do homework. Okay, which is very, very important.
But to seek knowledge outside of the official.
Exactly. Okay. So then we are talking about technology. So I'll stick to technology, of course. Books. Yes. Then you augment that, or you add to that using technology. Okay. So computers. You don't necessarily have to buy them the most expensive, most powerful computers and video games, etc. They are all very, very important. But you can give them a reasonable computer, or even repurpose old computers, and the children can use it all day because of the kind of tools that they'll be using. Now, a lot of these things you will find on the websites. You will find on the websites. So what are the top educational websites out now? Okay, so we can talk about the Khan Academy, for example. Okay, the Khan Academy, they have their website, they have their mobile app, for example, that you can use that to educate your children. And they have arranged everything on that particular platform according to topics and also according to the levels. Okay, so you as a parent, your role that you play is to guide the children towards the right places.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that we often, I mean, these days we we overlook are the search engines. Very, very, very powerful. And if the child's school environment is such that they are not providing tuition in that particular, direction, you as a parent, very early in life, you have to encourage these children. I mean, at a very, very early age, if the children have access to computers, it will amaze you what they can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you take the time and also point them in a few directions, just not leave them that, okay, go. If you leave them, they will just go to any site and do whatever they think is interesting to them. And that is cool. But it is better if they are directed towards particular places. So you guide them to how to use the Googles and whatnot, okay? Then they can pick up from there. So Khan Academy, we can talk about IXL.com, and even locally, we can talk about edmondo.com.gh.
Okay. Edmondo.
So it's a platform that has been created, I think, in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service, I believe. And they've organized everything according to the levels, according to courses. They have sections for teachers, they have sections for parents, and they have sections for parents.
Wow.
So you as a parent, you go in there, sign up, then you enroll your children so that whatever they are doing when they go on the platform, you also know and you can follow up and check and assist them, which is very, very important. The learning process is not just for the children, but it's also for you as a parent. I mean, it's very frustrating if your child comes to you and asks a certain question and say, oh, we have homework, and you can't support the child to do it, So it's also very important that as a parent you can do it. So these are just a few websites, and there are a whole lot of them there. You can talk about Coursera. So that's IXL showing. IXL, yes. Yes, if you can put it up, yes, that's IXL showing. So you can see that this IXL in particular is based on the US curriculum. But of course, you can go through as a parent, you know the age, you know the level, so you can guide your child towards where they have to go. IXL.com. Then we can also talk about Khan Academy. Okay, you can also talk about Khan Academy. It's a similar platform. Everything is organized nicely. So as a parent, you create the account, you initiate your pupil or your child, and together you go on a learning expedition. Okay. Then for those who are learning by themselves, if you're on your own, a young graduate, you're out there, you have a job, but you want to learn something new. How do you go about it? Okay, how do you go about it? You go about it through, number one, the search engines. Then there are other platforms too that you can use. Khan Academy makes room for people who are, say, older, individuals, if I may say, who want to learn stuff. Okay, so there's programming in there, there's AI in there, a whole lot of other topics that you can learn, networking, and all the things that the gentleman who came on earlier was talking about. The whole of these things, I mean, they are providing it for free, but once you've attended these classes and you have some free time, you have access to the internet, you have access to a computer, these are things that you can learn on your own. Very interesting things. And a whole lot of these platforms, they have arranged and provided the learning in a very interactive way. Okay. So as you learn, you can track your progress, you can take evaluations, you can check out your scores. Then in certain instances, you even get certificates. Yes, sent to you in your mail, or you can even request for them to be sent physically to you, probably at a fee. There are some of these platforms that you might have to pay, but there are a whole lot of other platforms that are free and are very good, top-notch quality. Another thing that is very important when it comes to learning, especially if you are in formal education, is collaboration. So collaboration is when you need to collaborate with other students, your study groups, etc. I mean, I would have struggled a lot if I didn't have study groups in school. Yes, study groups was very, very important when I was doing my university, when I was also doing my 3-year post-sec, which I did. Very
Okay,
interesting.
wow.
Yes. So study groups, I really appreciate, learning communities. And what happens is that these days, with the help of technology, you can do some of these things by, reaching out to your friends. So for example, an app that we have on most phones, okay, we have note-taking apps on most of our smartphones.
Yes.
Or all our smartphones. I can say that emphatically. If the Google platform, you have Google Keeps.
Okay.
If you're on iOS platform, you have your
Notes.
Apple Notes.
Yeah.
Okay. And all these platforms, you can collaborate with other people. So you start a note, you can share it with other people, and together you can put whatever you have to study in there. Okay. So as I learn stuff, I can put down some of my points.
Yeah.
So I can open Google Keeps, for example, which you can see on the screen now. Okay. So you open it, you start. You type whatever title you want to type. So in this particular case, you are talking biology. Very interesting
Biology.
Subject in school.
Yeah.
Say how to dissect,
Okay. How to dissect what? A cockroach?
a frog.
Ah, okay.
A cockroach is very complicated.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
Yeah, how to dissect a frog. Okay. Then you can all, share it, and you can all collaborate. And as you do this, it is updating in real time. Okay. So if you go to your desktop computer or your laptop computer, what you've done here syncs to it, because it's all in the cloud, which we talked about a few weeks ago. Yes. So it's all in the cloud. So you don't have to go now trying to email stuff around and stuff.
Yeah.
Email is super, super important also when we talk about education. But this also opens a whole new dimension of what you can do. And the Keeps and Apple Notes have so many things added to it. You can add your voice, you can add pictures, you can add video. Okay, so this, what you see on the screen now, is whatever we type on the phone instantly. You can access it on your computer. You can add to it, or you can subtract, and other people can collaborate in real time, or whatever time that they want to, work on that particular document. So a lot of new, frontiers are open.
It's a little like Google Docs.
Yes,
Google
yes.
Sheets.
I mean, Google Keeps
Google
is part
Sheets,
of Google
Google
Docs.
Docs.
Yes. So that particular aspect has been brought over to the Google Keeps, which is very, very interesting. Yes.
Okay. So, talk to us about. You mentioned earlier reading. For some people, the gadgets are the space in which they can function.
Yes.
No matter what it is that they can do. So if they can find a way of bringing in their reading from leafing through
the physical
books
yes.
to have an e-book.
Yes.
Talk to us about what we
Right.
need to
I
know
mean,
about
these
that.
days, every book that you can think about, it is stored somewhere on some server somewhere, digitally. Okay.
Yeah.
So a whole lot of platforms that you can access books. Okay. So you can go to Audible, for example, where you have readable books, where you have audible books that you can listen to, audiobooks, if I may say. Then there are a whole lot of other places, or I will call reciprocatories, where you can get access to physical books, especially textbooks, free of charge. Just Google textbooks, and you'll find a whole lot of them. You can use the authors of the books to search Google, and you'll find these books. Download them to your device, and with your PDF reader app on your mobile phone or your smartphone, you can read the books.
Yeah.
And they have features like annotations. They have features like bookmarks, which you can add to that particular book to keep track of whatever you are doing.
Yeah.
And together with your note-taking app or learning applications, you can even copy and paste. And now on your mobile phone, one feature that is new is to capture. You can screen capture.
Yeah.
Then after you screen captured, you have options to scan.
To crop it as a scanned document and all
and it
of
can
that.
actually it can actually recognize the characters of the image. Okay, so that you can just copy the text and paste it in your notes app. And this is fantastic. You can instantly share it with your community of learners, and together you move yourselves forward. We're very, very wonderful times.
Yeah.
Very wonderful.
The apps and websites for entertainment of kids. What about that?
Good. I mean, talking about education and children, one of the ways that you can maintain and sustain their interest and attention, okay, is through gaming. Okay, so gaming is a great way, you know. But a lot of times, parents just buy the devices or buy the games and just after setup, that is it, you know. And they don't know what the children are doing.
Yeah.
But I think that, and I believe that it is very important that parents participate in that space of gaming. And as you do that, the children will acquire some skills from it. Other parents also just discount it, you know, outright, that gaming is a waste of time. But that is false. There are so many skills that children can, motor skills, psychomotor skills, you know, build reaction times, and a whole lot of other things, which are very, very important.
Yeah.
Then, when you have purchased the game console for your children, what games are you choosing to buy?
Okay.
Okay, these days, most of these consoles, you buy and download the games onto it. Okay, so you have to set it up such that you have to initiate that process of acquiring the app so that you can read through the fine letters of the app and know that, okay, this app is appropriate for my children. Okay. And apart from that, the skills, because most of these games, surely they are going to list what they expect the game to benefit, you know, the players of the game. But if you don't do that and you just leave it out there, the children will just select any game at all, especially what maybe they hear their peers talk about. Sometimes some of the games are not appropriate for certain ages or even for your children for whatsoever. Some of the games are contain very adult, you know, content. Yes. So we have to be very careful.
And I think finally we can talk about creating edutainment, educational entertainment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the whole process or the whole environment, earlier on I talked about setting up the environment, should be set up in such that it can provide education in a very entertaining way.
Okay.
Okay, so that education does not become a chore.
Yes.
You know, I mean, growing up, that is one of our biggest headaches because you have to be seated at a particular place and you have to, you know, prop yourself in a certain way. Sometimes even your posture is very important, you know, and all that, you know, helps. You see, you have to study your children. I always say that children learn in different ways, okay, and forms and time and moods.
Right? Yeah.
So you as a parent, it is your job to know your children and how they go about the learning process and set up the whole environment such that it will provide just that for them. Yeah, very important.
I remember when my daughter was 2 years old, I just want to talk about the whole issue of helping people get over their fear of machines, you know. When she was 2 years old, I remember, the thought occurred to me that, you know, I was 19 before I touched the computer for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and actually, no, I was younger, but in terms of my own, own computer, my own laptop, you know, I was 19 before I got one. But I just remember how it was odd to see those days. It was Amstrad, IBM.
Yes.
They had a different, you know. And I remember
those white boxes.
Yes.
Or beige.
Beige
very
ones,
boring.
And MS DOS. And I think I even started pre-MS DOS.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But as the
MS DOS, what you had to do was to write a program anytime
you had to
use
write it.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
So one of the
so we used to learn how to, you know, write.
So you have to do basic programming.
Yes. You want a computer to do something, you have to tell it what you want it to do in computer language.
Yeah,
you know.
line by line.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about how the gentleman, Dr. Philip Aye, who was here a few minutes ago, was talking about 1999. He left Ghana to England, and he had never turned on a computer before in his life. Yeah. You know. So I remember, I just thought about, let me introduce my daughter very early, you know, and I noticed how it's also impacted her because I look at other grown-ups when they are going to touch a computer, it's like they are very cautious.
Yes. Or people used to wash their hands and have a special napkin, you know, to wipe it before they touch the computer, you know.
Yeah, so just talk to us a little bit about overcoming, helping our kids especially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for some of us adults, it's too late, but we're helping your children to overcome these fears that children are usually not afraid. They're curious, so they want to explore. But I think it's important to encourage them to explore.
Yeah, I mean,
and the machine will not spoil. The computer will not spoil.
Yeah, I mean, even if it gets spoiled in the process,
Yeah.
they've learned something. You can get it, sorted out. The price to pay, education is expensive.
Yeah.
So if you as a parent can take on some of that process, and even by doing so, you break a computer part or so, I mean, it can be sorted. But the lessons that the children
will
learn, I mean, you are sharing your experience. I have a personal experience. I'm doing what I can do today because my dad worked at a company where they've been getting computers. There's a multinational company. They have been sending computers to their local branches since the 70s.
Wow.
And when they bring them,
they
just pack them.
Yeah.
And because he
but
studied.
But as to why? I don't understand. Even in tech, as far back as, or let me say, as recently as the late 90s.
Yeah.
Computers were being delivered to them by embassies in Ghana, and they were packing them.
They just pack them away.
Packing them.
And you have people doing computer science in tech.
Yes.
And they have to learn how to program.
Yeah.
And write examination in programming
without looking at the computer.
Without a computer. Or they have to write the code. How can you write a code on paper?
No.
Yeah, but it's good. Yeah. I mean, we've come far, and I mean, like you are saying, if you have children, throw these things at them, but don't do it without supervision. And that is one mistake that we've been making.
Yeah.
Where you give children the gadgets, the mobile phones, and other things, and you do not supervise. It is dangerous. Yeah. You don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. You have to be on top of your game as a parent. Yeah. Or I'll even graduate it and say a parent educator. You have to be on top of your game. You have to understand technology. You can't afford as a parent today not to understand technology, not to know technology. So as you do that, sometimes you go on a learning journey with your children. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So together you discover then gradually, but don't let them be ahead of you. Otherwise you'll be in trouble. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. Very, very difficult because I mean it's their world.
Yeah, it's their world. Yeah.
But it will be very expensive for you as a parent, and you can't allow that. So you also have to keep up with the times.
Fantastic. Yes. Thank you. All right, Eddie, how do people get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me on Facebook, Edward Opoku. On IG, you can do Mifri Asante. On Twitter is @EddiePoku.
Okay, fantastic.